First contact with the Forsaken. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the helm of the ESS Horizon, Earth's most advanced exploration vessel, as it dropped out of FTL on the edges of the Carina Nebula. The ship's sensors had detected something unusual, faint energy signatures that didn't match any known patterns in the database. What they found would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. Multiple structures detected on the fourth planet, Commander Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his voice tight with excitement. They're artificial and ancient. The planet loomed before them, a world of purple skies and crystalline mountains. But it wasn't the natural beauty that caught their attention. It was the deteriorating ruins of what had clearly once been a magnificent civilization. Massive archways of an otherworldly metal stretched into the sky, their surfaces dulled by time but still bearing the unmistakable marks of advanced engineering. The Horizon's first contact team found them in the underground chambers, the Nexeri. They were tall, graceful beings with iridescent skin that seemed to ripple with colors reflecting their emotions. But their once mighty species had been reduced to barely 1,000 survivors, huddled in the remnants of their ancient halls, using failing technology to survive. Through their universal translators, the Nexeri told their story. Their civilization had spanned millennia, peaceful explorers and architects who had built wonders across their star system. But when a nearby star went supernova, the radiation devastated their world. They had reached out to the advanced species of the galaxy for help, but one by one, they were turned away. The Collective, the dominant alliance of spacefaring races, had deemed them cosmically selected for extinction and forbidden any intervention. Commander Chen felt a familiar ache in her chest. Just 3 years ago, humanity had made their own first contact with the Collective, hoping to join the galactic community. Instead, they were dismissed as too primitive, their achievements deemed insufficient for membership. Earth's representatives had returned home humiliated, their dreams of cosmic brotherhood shattered. But now, standing among the Nexeri, Chen saw an opportunity, not for revenge, but for justice. We're not part of their collective, she transmitted to the Nexeri leaders. We don't follow their rules, and we won't abandon you. The decision wasn't hers alone to make. Chen sent her report back to Earth, knowing it would spark intense debate. Helping the Nexeri would mean defying the collective, risking the wrath of species centuries more advanced than humanity. But as she waited for Earth's response, she watched the Nexeri children playing among the ruins, their skin flickering with colors of hope when they looked at the human visitors. 3 days later, the response came from the United Earth Council. It was unanimous. Humanity would help the Nexeri rebuild. They had the technology, the resources, and most importantly, the will to do what the collective had deemed forbidden. If the advanced species had rejected humanity for being too primitive, then perhaps it was time to show them what primitive humans could do. As Chen delivered the news to the Nexeri, their skin blazed with colors she had never seen before: joy, disbelief, and something deeper: recognition. In humanity, they saw something the collective had forgotten: the simple truth that compassion wasn't a sign of weakness, but the ultimate strength, a promise against the void. The first signs of collective resistance came swiftly. A sleek vessel of the Varrox, one of the collective's founding races, appeared at the edge of the Nexeri system. Their message was clear: humans were to withdraw immediately or face consequences. But humanity had already begun their work, and they weren't about to stop. Dr. Maya Patel, Earth's leading expert in xenobiology, had discovered that the Nexeri's cellular structure could be strengthened against radiation damage. The solution wasn't in advanced technology, but in simple Earth bacteria that had evolved to repair radiation damage. While the collective had dismissed such primitive life forms, humanity saw potential where others saw insignificance. Meanwhile, engineer James O'Connor had begun working with Nexeri architects to restore their atmospheric processors. The human approach was different. Instead of trying to rebuild the ancient machines exactly, they combined Earth's sustainable technology with Nexeri designs. Sometimes newer isn't better. O'Connor explained to his Nexari counterpart, Zal. Sometimes you need to step back to move forward. The Varroc's warnings escalated. More ships arrived, their weapon systems clearly visible. But for every collective vessel that appeared, Earth sent another ship of their own. They weren't warships. They were hospital ships, construction vessels, research stations. Each one carried a message. Humanity would not be intimidated away from doing what was right. Defiance and innovation. The Nexari archives held secrets that had been forgotten for generations. Deep in their crystalline data cores, Engineer O'Connor and his team discovered something extraordinary. The Nexari had once developed technology that could manipulate gravitational fields at a quantum level. The knowledge was incomplete, fragments of a greater whole, but it sparked an idea in O'Connor's mind. Look at how your ancestors approached the problem, he explained to Zal, pointing to the ancient schematics. They didn't try to overpower nature. They worked with it, guided it. That's something we humans understand. While the collective built ever larger ships and more powerful weapons, humanity had learned to survive by adapting, by finding elegant solutions to complex problems. The project they developed became known as the Harmony Grid, a network of small satellites that could work together to create protective gravitational fields. Each individual unit was simple, using technology that even humanity's primitive engineering could produce. But together, they formed something revolutionary. As the human and Nexari engineers worked, the collective's pressure intensified. The Varroc's were joined by the Mechthar, cybernetic beings who saw the natural evolution of species as a mathematical equation. Their ships began actively interfering with supply vessels, using their advanced technology to disrupt navigation systems. But they hadn't counted on human ingenuity. Captain Lisa Torres of the supply ship, Artemis, remembered an old sailing technique when her nav systems went dark. Using the stellar radiation patterns that had once devastated the Nexari world, she created a makeshift compass. Soon, all human ships were using what the collective saw as a problem as a solution. The Nexari watched in amazement as humans consistently found ways to overcome challenges that their advanced ancestors might have considered insurmountable. Where the collective saw primitive solutions, humanity demonstrated that sophistication didn't always require complexity. Dr. Patel's radiation-resistant bacteria evolved further, adapting to the Nexari world in unexpected ways. The simple organisms began breaking down toxic compounds in the soil, gradually restoring land that had been dead for centuries. It was a solution so elegant that even some of the younger collective scientists took notice, though their leaders quickly silenced their admiration. The real breakthrough came when Zal discovered that the bacteria's biological processes could be integrated into the Harmony Grid's quantum field manipulation. Your ancestors understood something fundamental about the universe, O'Connor told him. Everything is connected. Sometimes the smallest things can have the biggest impact. The battle for compassion. The collective's main battle fleet arrived with a display of power meant to intimidate 50 capital ships, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built, their hulls gleaming with technology centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. Leading them was the Dominion, a vessel that seemed to bend space around itself, commanded by High Admiral Vexthor of the Varroc's. The human Nexari Defense Force looked pitiful in comparison. 20 Earth ships, modified with hybrid technology, surrounded by the glittering network of the Harmony Grid. Commander Chen watched from the bridge of the horizon as the enemy fleet took up attack positions. Last chance to withdraw. Vexthor's transmission boomed across all frequencies. Your primitive interference ends now, or we will end it for you. Chen's response was to activate the Harmony Grid. Across the Nexari system, thousands of small satellites hummed to life, their quantum fields beginning to resonate with each other. The bacteria-enhanced systems started their work, invisible but growing stronger with each passing moment. The collective fleet opened fire. Beams of energy that could vaporize mountains streaked across space. But something unexpected happened. The Harmony Grid's quantum fields bent around the human ships, not blocking the attacks, but redirecting them. like Aikido masters using an opponent's strength against them. The defensive network turned each strike into energy for its own systems. Impossible. Vexthor's voice crackled with rage. Your technology is centuries behind ours. Technology isn't everything. Chen transmitted back. Sometimes it's about how you use it. The battle evolved into something the collective had never encountered. Their sophisticated targeting systems couldn't lock onto ships protected by the Harmony Grid's quantum fields. Their energy weapons were being redirected, feeding power back into the very defensive system they were trying to destroy. But the true surprise came from the Nexari themselves. Their knowledge of quantum field manipulation, combined with human adaptability, allowed them to turn the collective's own advanced technology against them. Every time a collective ship fired, the Harmony Grid learned, adapted, grew stronger. Dr. Patel's radiation-resistant bacteria had another unexpected effect. Released into space, they were drawn to energy sources, including the collective's shields. The microscopic organisms began breaking down the energy fields at a quantum level, creating gaps in their supposedly impenetrable defenses. The collective commanders were faced with a situation their superior technology couldn't handle. Their ship's AI couldn't predict the seemingly random patterns of human tactics. Their weapons were being turned against them by the very forces they were trying to suppress, and their shields were being eaten away by microscopic life forms they had dismissed as insignificant. O'Connor's voice came over the comm as another collective barrage was absorbed and redirected. They don't understand, Commander. They'd forgotten that the universe isn't about domination. It's about harmony. About working with natural forces, not against them. The battle reached its crescendo when the Dominion itself launched its main weapon, a beam of concentrated quantum energy that could tear apart the fabric of space-time. But the Harmony Grid was ready. As the beam approached, every satellite in the network synchronized perfectly, creating a lens of quantum fields. The Dominion's weapon hit the lens and something beautiful happened. Instead of destruction, the energy was transformed, scattered into patterns of light that danced across the system. The Nexari's iridescent skin rippled in response, their ancient connection to quantum fields recognizing something profound in the display. Vexthor's next transmission was different, his voice holding a note of uncertainty for the first time. What are you? We're human, Chen replied. We're the ones you called primitive. We're the ones who remember what it means to rise from nothing, to face impossible odds, to help others do the same. And we're not going anywhere. A new dawn for the outcasts. In the days following the battle, the galaxy changed. Not through revolution or conquest, but through the quiet realization that spread from world to world. The collective's way was not the only way. The footage of Earth's ships working in harmony with the Nexari technology, of microscopic bacteria accomplishing what advanced weapons could not, sparked something that had been missing from galactic society. Hope. The Collective Council convened an emergency session. The younger races who had broken formation during the battle spoke first, led by the Aetherian ambassador, whose own species had barely achieved faster-than-light travel a century ago. We watched humans achieve in months what we claimed was impossible. The Aetherian's crystalline voice rang through the chamber, not through superior technology, but through courage, creativity, and compassion. Perhaps it is not they who are primitive, but we who have become too rigid in our advancement. Commander Chen stood before the council, not as a supplicant now, but as an equal. The Nexari representative, Zal, stood beside her, his skin shimmering with colors of pride and determination. We didn't come here to challenge your authority, Chen addressed the council. We came to challenge your assumptions. The universe is not a ladder to be climbed, with the strong stepping on the weak. It's a web where every strand connects to every other. When you abandon one species to their fate, you weaken the entire structure. The evidence was undeniable. The Nexari world was healing. The radiation that had devastated their civilization was being transformed by the Harmony Grid into sustainable energy. The modified bacteria were restoring soil that had been dead for centuries. New cities were rising, blending human ingenuity with Nexari aesthetics to create something entirely new. But the most profound changes were cultural. Other abandoned or rejected species began reaching out, first to humanity, then to the Nexari. A new network formed, not based on technological advancement or military power, but on mutual aid and shared knowledge. Dr. Patel's bacteria research led to breakthroughs in environmental restoration across dozens of worlds. O'Connor's quantum field manipulation techniques, developed with the Nexari, revolutionized energy production throughout the galaxy. The Harmony Grid's principles were adapted to solve problems that the collective's brute force technology had never been able to address. The Orcs, led by the Chess and Vexthor, were the first of the elder races to acknowledge the change. We had forgotten, he admitted in a private meeting with Chen, that our own species once looked to the stars with hope rather than judgment. Perhaps it is time we remembered. A year after the battle, the Nexari hosted a gathering of species that the collective had deemed unworthy of membership. Humans mingled with beings of all forms, crystalline entities, energy beings, organic collectives. Each had been rejected for being too different, too primitive, or too unstable. Yet each brought unique perspectives and abilities that, when shared freely, made everyone stronger. Commander Chen watched from the observation deck of the horizon as ships from across the galaxy arrived for the gathering. Each vessel was different, reflecting the unique characteristics of its builders. Yet they moved together in harmony, their paths choreographed by the same principles that had allowed humanity's primitive fleet to stand against the collective's mighty armada. "We were wrong about so many things," Zal said, standing beside her. His skin rippled with the deep blues and greens of contemplation. "We thought advancement meant moving away from our origins, becoming something other than what we were. You showed us that true progress means remembering where you came from and helping others along the way." Earth's rejection by the collective, which had once seemed like a crushing defeat, had turned out to be a gift. It had allowed humanity to forge a different path, not up, but outward, connecting rather than climbing. The Harmony Grid still orbited the Nexari world, its quantum fields singing with energy. But now it was more than a defense system. It had become a symbol of what was possible when species chose cooperation over competition, innovation over intimidation, and compassion over conquest. As the gathering commenced, representatives from hundreds of worlds shared their stories of struggle, survival, and hope. Each tale was different, yet the theme was the same. No species needed to face the universe alone. In helping the Nexari, humanity had done more than save one civilization. They had reminded the galaxy of a truth it had forgotten: that the strongest forces in the universe were not the ones that pushed others down, but the ones that lifted them up. The stars shone brighter that night, or perhaps it was just that more eyes were looking up at them, with hope rather than fear. The age of the collective's rigid hierarchy was ending, replaced by something more chaotic, but infinitely more alive. A galaxy where every species, no matter how primitive or advanced, had something to contribute to the greater whole. In the end, humanity's greatest achievement wasn't defeating the collective's fleet or saving the Nexari. It was showing the galaxy that there was another way forward, one where compassion wasn't weakness, where innovation didn't require centuries of advancement, and where the strongest steel was forged not in isolation, but in the fires of cooperation and shared purpose. The universe, vast and mysterious, continued its eternal dance. But now there were new partners in that dance, moving to rhythms that the collective had never imagined possible. And at the heart of it all was a simple truth that humanity had carried with them from their first steps into space: that the greatest adventures weren't about reaching the top, but about bringing everyone along on the journey.